That certainly applies to silver, especially if you want to make a whole bunch of money very easily without a lot of work. Oh, wait a minute. So gold is money, recognized by the entire world. The only thing recognized by the entire world that everyone agrees is money. This will be my preeminent silver video ever. It's part 3 of the silver squeeze. It's going to explain my outlook for silver prices, why I think the price drivers are all pointing to higher prices. And we're also going to talk about, most importantly, what you can do about it, how you can benefit. And also, the most massive thing that just recently is starting to happen is that central banks are getting on buying silver, not just gold. Plus, I'm going to tell you what happens to silver stocks and gold stocks and commodity prices in a downturn. And also, we're going to look at 3 things that I always say about gold. And we're going to say how that applies to silver. There are so many price drivers and so many influencing forces affecting silver right now that we're going to have to go really quickly through this video. We'll start with the mother of all charts that you need to see if you're a silver investor. Here's the total supply, total demand. And if you notice, going back to 2015, you've got about equal supply to demand. Next year, you've got more supply than demand. Again, more supply. Again, more supply. And it wasn't until 2019 that ratio flipped. And now look at 2020. Much more demand than supply. 2021, much more demand. Following year, much more demand. And you can see all the way up to what will be an estimation for total demand in 2024, 2015 million ounces of demand over and above supply. This is from the Silver Institute. And here's a table of silver production by country. Who are the top 4? Who do you think? I'll give you a minute to think of your guess. Wrong. It's Mexico, China, Peru, then Chile. And here's a chart from Statista showing you the mine production of silver worldwide. Global supply has been broadly steady at around 1 billion ounces, but last year industrial silver demand grew by 11%. That demand growth is coming a lot from photovoltaics, all this new technology in wiring and computers and energy grid connections that are required because of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, cryptocurrency mining, a general overall evolution of the entire global population towards easier things like technologies. And I wish I could find the clip, and I started looking for it, but after about 20 seconds I thought, who cares? I'm looking for the clip that I said the other day, about 4 videos ago or so, that even in a heat wave, sweater prices will increase if there's more demand than supply. Now you need to know that silver always follows gold with a lag, a little bit difference in trading, but in general, as you can see from these charts here from gold silver, you look at one's gold, the other in silver, and they kind of look similar except for one brief point. But as I told you a while ago, it's always going to outperform gold overall on a percentage basis until the gold to silver ratio normalizes closer to 40. But what's been driving gold since we've been talking about it at $1,600? It's been the central bank buying that I showed you. And now central banks are buying silver too? Now this one, you know exactly what it is and what it's all about. The global risk premium that's being put into things like the price of gold because it's a flight to safety when things go chaotic. There's a lot going on with the wars, the military, and you guys know all of this and all about it. Think about it yourself. If Israel does this, if Iran does that, if Ukraine does that, what happens? It affects things like oil and gold and the overall global safety and security. We don't need to get into this because you get the idea with this stuff. But no one knows where these wars are going to go, especially the people that are involved with them in the front lines. So you choose what you think is going to happen or play out because it will all have major implications. You need to keep an eye on this stuff even though it's difficult to watch. With anything, there's less and less low-hanging fruit. The mining industry, gold and silver, all mining, is very mature now. So if there is a shallow, really concentrated find of gold or silver, that's being exploited now. That's typical for any industry as it matures. The potential profits become fewer and fewer and further between. That's why you're going to start to see a lot of consolidation in the mining industry. Or it's less expensive to buy another mine that found and identified certain deposits than have to search for it themselves. You just buy the mine, you buy the deposits, and you have the bankroll to really get that mine rolling properly. And so the good reserves are harder to find, a little bit deeper in the ground. But where is the top place in the world for gold and silver? It's in the Golden Triangle of Canada, Western Canada. And that's where a lot of the stocks that we talk about, Peter Leeds approved mining stocks in the Peter Leeds newsletter, are operating right now. And there's a paved road right to the ocean. You can get that gold out to China today. And silver prices have been sickly low for such a long time now that what happens is that any commodity, when the prices get lower, you're going to start to see a curtailing of operations. Mines will be put on pause or closed down. Entire projects will get scrapped. Mines will sit lifeless. And it was the great late T. Boone Pickens who would always say the cure for low oil prices is low oil prices. That can also apply to things like silver and gold, because to get these mines up and running again, as now the price of silver has been really spiking higher lately, you want to get some of these silver mines going again, but in a lot of cases that will take many years for them to come online again. And silver is a hybrid metal, so it's used as a precious metal for savings, and it's used as an industrial metal for electronics. For some reason in North America, the majority of people don't even understand what silver and gold is or the value of precious metals, and they're not touching it as an investment at all. And like out in the East, like China, where they're just, or into the BRICS nation, they are buying it like crazy. I'm talking about retail people, talking about the Chinese population is going into the jewelry stores and buying gold as an investment. But retail investors are starting to come back because now they're all starting to notice what we've been talking about for many years now. So they're going to start coming back and buying silver. In addition to that, the industrial uses of silver has increased by 11% year over year. So there's more retail investing, there's more industrial investing, but I'll tell you the understanding in North America about the value of gold, and I'll say that Canada, for example, has no gold holdings at all. Perhaps they think, well, we've got a lot of gold in the ground, we'll dig it up if we have to. Sure, but that's not the point of having a whole bunch of gold in a vault somewhere. It says something. It's a statement about the strength of your economy, and it will bleed over into how people treat your currency. Now think about if the government of Canada was watching my videos and they had bought gold when I started talking about it, they'd be sitting on billions, literally billions of dollars in profit. They should hire me to be a consultant or something. But speaking of reserves, it reminds me of something I wanted to mention, that people will say, the Federal Reserve is not federal and it has no reserves. They're only half right because they say that because it sounds like a good soundbite, but they don't really understand it. The Federal Reserve is not a federal organization, but it does have reserves. Here's a screenshot of the reserves that they have right now. Special drawing rights, gold, foreign currencies, reserve position in the International Monetary Fund. And this is from Charts. It's a chart that goes back from 1850 to now of the gold to silver ratio. It's at 80.74. And you can see that historically it's closer to somewhere in the range between 30 and 45. Even though there's 19 times more silver than there is gold in the Earth's crust, only 9 times more silver than gold is extracted today. But as silver has started doing exactly what I told you it was going to do, I was so excited because I just got my girlfriend to start investing, and that's what I sent to Jane the other day because I was showing her that silver was up 6.5% on the day. That's unheard of for a commodity to move that much. This is from the United States Governmental Services. Of the 1,740,000 metric tons of silver discovered to date, 55% is found in just 4 countries on Earth. This is from the Visual Capitalist, the top silver producing countries: Mexico, China, Peru, Chile. And the Federal Reserve recently started their first easing campaign in 4 years. And what happens when they lower rates is that it costs more dollars to buy things like commodities, so all commodities go up in price as the dollar declines. There might be one more small cut at the Federal Reserve's meeting November 6th and 7th. But what's interesting by that date? Why does it stick out to you? It is a day or two after the federal election, and we all know that at this election no one's going to know who the winner is at first. And the thing is that the Federal Reserve chairman, and a lot of them have their jobs because of the decisions of whoever's the president at the time. Although Jerome Powell knows that both Harris and Trump want lower rates. The Federal Reserve wants lower rates. The people want lower rates. Is that the right decision? I leave it to you. But rates will come down, and they will have to go back up once inflation bounces. So maybe there's one more small cut on the November 6th and 7th meeting, and then they say that next year there'll be 4 cuts in total for about 100 basis points. Now, this is the most common chart that I ever show you. This is the monetary creation chart. And you got to figure that the country itself has an operating deficit. We're not making enough money. We're making half the money we need from taxation, and we have to cover the rest. Usually you're getting money from China or Japan, but they don't do that anymore. And so we have to print new money. Plus, if you haven't seen enough stimulus spending yet, which has been a record amount of stimulus spending, there's going to be a lot more coming up, especially if we get into any kind of recession. I should say, especially when we get into the recession. So look at this chart. Contemplate it for a second. Stare at it for a minute. Turn off the other music. Get the kids to be quiet. Look at this chart. There's your strong economy. Now this is huge. Central banks are starting to buy silver more openly. And it's starting with Russia, but it's going to spread throughout to the BRICS nations at least. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Russia set to boost silver reserves and major precious metal strategy shift. That doesn't just apply to Russia, okay? This is going to apply to a lot of other countries. Anyone who wants to get away from US dollar dominance is going to want to get into precious metals a lot more. So this may just be the first salvo in what the BRICS nations are going to do. They've already loaded up on gold, and that's in the prices where it's gone. And gold mining stocks, forget about it. Gold goes up 10%, gold mining stocks go up 100%. Russia shifts its precious metal strategy, adding silver to state reserves alongside gold, platinum, and palladium, potentially impacting global markets as central banks reconsider silver's value. Russia's draft federal budget outlines plans to significantly bolster its holdings in precious metals over the coming years. Notably, the budget includes plans to acquire gold, platinum, palladium, and, for the first time, silver. Now keep that in mind when you talk about just coming up what happens in a market downturn. Because think of what we just said there about the buying demands. And of course, there's a lot of military purchases, and silver's being seen now as a strategic metal for a lot of military reasons. But this is from the Comptroller General of the U.S., and it was a really dry read, so I didn't read it for me, I read it for you guys. This is the national defense requirements for a stockpile of silver. I pulled out this screenshot. The silver stockpile is located at two locations: West Point, New York, with 49.4 million ounces, and San Francisco with 90.1 million ounces. And this is from the Jerusalem Post. Military consumption of silver could far exceed industrial demand. The military's hidden demand for silver could be far greater than we realize. Well, you're watching these videos, you realize it, but other people don't realize it yet. There's the opportunity. Could silver be the next big commodity squeeze? And the answer is absolutely it could. It is actually the commodity squeeze right now. It's already begun. What do you think prices are moving 6%, 6.5% in a single day for a commodity? Besides oil, when have you ever seen that? Everything in Silver Squeeze in part 2 and part 3 are the reasons that I believe that silver prices are going to go dramatically higher. But back to how you can get involved. Everybody should own some physical silver. It's not hard to do. It's so cheap right now. Buy some physical gold if you can. But for nearly 30 years, I've been putting out stock picks, highly analyzed stocks that pass 29-point Leeds analysis, Peter Leeds approved companies, and reveal them to you through the world-famous Peter Leeds newsletter, one of the most popular financial publications of all time. And even though many of our silver and gold mining stocks have already doubled and tripled since we recently profiled them, there are still a few laggers and a few 10-baggers, soon to be 10-baggers, that are set to explode in price that we got to tell you about if you want to learn about them on the Peter Leeds newsletter. Now here's 3 things I always say about gold and how they're also true for silver. I've been telling you about buying gold since it was trading at $1,600. And then featuring the Peter Leeds approved mining stocks all the way up to $1,800. I was still talking about it. We kept flirting around the $2,000 level, and now it's over $2,700 on its path higher. This is not the destination. This is the journey. And what did I tell you about gold that whole time? Is that you never need to worry about gold. It doesn't have any company risk. Nobody's going to embezzle the company or get fined or sued or lose a customer. It's a commodity. A dude in Norway sees the value the same as a guy in Australia. That is also true of silver. You never need to worry about it. It'll have downdrafts, or the price will go down sometimes because maybe it was pressed for perfection, or there's an expectation of declining economic activity. And we'll get into that in a sec when I tell you what happens in a downturn. But you don't need to worry about silver either. And especially as these wars broke out and expanded as they have, and they're still in process of expanding or growing. They're not coming to an end, they're actually getting worse. And so I started saying it a lot more frequently. If you've been here a while, you've seen me say it many times. You will want to own some gold. Whether that's through gold mining stocks or some exposure to gold or the actual physical metal, an ETF maybe. You're going to want some exposure to gold right now. This certainly applies to silver, especially if you want to make a whole bunch of money very easily without a lot of work. But that's just me, and it's just my opinion. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm wrong 100% of the time. And I tell you too about gold, it's just getting started. Just wait, it's just getting started. And in terms of silver, I mean that even more so. It's just getting started on steroids. So as the stock market comes down, in a recession, any kind of World War III breaks out, there's a lot of situations where gold and silver, the commodity, will drop in price a lot really quickly, and the stocks obviously as well. Just with stocks, they could all come down, and sometimes a sinking tide sinks all boats. But I don't think that time is yet. There will be a time. My opinion is that the overall stock market will start doing really badly. But gold and silver, especially with the price drivers they have right now, which are unheard of, right now, today, Russia is buying silver and putting it in a vault underground. Think about that. I think the demand trends are all lining up and that they're going to put so much pressure on silver as it gets squeezed higher. But I believe that stocks will be coming down, real estate, cryptocurrencies, I'm sorry guys, but I'm just telling you what I believe, and that the gold mining and silver mining companies will hold up really well, maybe drop much less than they otherwise would, and then they will recover quickly, strongly, and pretty dramatically. Because then people will stop having both sides of the argument about gold, and they'll say, oh, wait a minute, so gold is money, recognized by the entire world. The only thing recognized by the entire world that everyone agrees is money. The point being that silver will also not only climb higher, but it'll outperform gold, in my opinion. And maybe you have a question. Maybe you have a question about a stock you own. You say, Peter, what do you think? Should I own this stock? Should I hold it? Should I sell it? You can do all of that if you become a Peter Leeds insider, peterleeds.com/insiders. And for a couple bucks a month, you get direct access with me. I'll answer all your questions anytime you want.